So working on a 99 Volkswagen Passat with a 1.8T. Customer complaint is losing power, hesitation. Sometimes they can't make it up hills. No real help with trouble codes. There were no faults stored, believe it or not. One of the other techs or somebody did a ton of vacuum line repairs, and basically that's all I know right now. But I did get the vehicle to act up. Let me take you to some scan data that I found, and right now it's not acting up, but hopefully it will. Once again, just another one of those battles. Alright, so I'm just in OBD2 Direct, which on the main screen here, right here, OBD Direct, and I have my intake air temp, my mass airflow, long-term fuel trim, O2 sensor bank 1, sensor 2. There's my O2 sensor bank 1, sensor 1, my short-term fuel trim, and my coolant temp. Right now everything's pretty normal, but what's happening is this O2 is being fixed rich when this thing starts acting up, and the short term is going to around negative 30%. So basically what we have is a rich condition. I'm hoping that it starts to act up so I can show you that it's not an O2 sensor. Basically when the rich condition happens, I just pull a vacuum line over here, give it a vacuum leak, and you can watch the O2 go lean. Short-term fuel trim goes positive, but right now it's not acting up. So that's just what I want to show you when it does act up, if it does act up. So I'm hoping it'll happen. This is just correcting for what I just did. My long term is -7, so overall it's taking fuel away. Right now the short term looks okay. So I mean, given that it was a rich condition, I mean my O2 is staying at 800, 900 millivolts. Anything above 450 is known as a rich. And basically what I'm just looking at is things that can cause a rich condition: coolant temp, intake air temp, my mass airflow, O2 sensors. So we're at negative 20, 24, 25. It's not happening right now. Oh, here we go. It's starting to flutter a little bit. My O2 sensor right now. My O2 is fixed rich right now. My short term isn't being looked at right now. There we go. So now it's going to rev up a bit, jumping around. Short term was negative. Well, as soon as I could go. You see my O2 is fixed rich right now. I'm going to pull this vacuum line just to pull that off right there. My O2 should go lean. And now it's not. Still fixed rich. Pull that vacuum line off. This is not responding the way it was before now. Okay, so there's my short term going negative. Put this line back on. Short term's negative. O2 is fixed rich at 900 millivolts, and now it just dropped back down. Oh, this thing. This thing's jumping around. My mass airflow, basically right now my mass airflow is reading really high because the computer is opening the throttle to allow more air to come in for this rich condition that it's picking up. So there's my negative 30. O2 fixed 895. Pull a vacuum line. Should go lean. That's going a little lean. Still fixed it. And that is not responding the same as it was before. Oh, there it goes. Let me give this thing a few revs. Sounds a little slow, does a little bit of hesitation, but it was worse before. Mass airflow, jumping around a bit. I do believe that this vehicle also has a cat issue. This is my downstream, it's also fixed rich, kind of mimicking the front O2 sensor. Let's give this a couple revs again. Still can't get this thing to act up now. I mean, my vacuum line off again. I know that this O2 sensor is good. There it is responding. See my fuel trims. That should go positive. It's slowly coming down. It just might not be enough air to counter this rich issue. Kind of hesitant. There it is. Nice fog. Got the throttle. Wide open throttle. And you can see that now my oxygen sensor is now going rich to lean again. Oh, so it just keeps going back and forth. All right, so I did have my fuel gauge on it before. It is not a fuel pressure issue. My fuel pressure is at about 50 with the regulator or the vacuum line disconnected. It's at about 60 psi. That's what we were getting at wide open throttle when I was cracking the throttle before. All my other inputs are looking okay, other than my mass airflow. I mean, they're very common to fail on these. So I'm gonna take a look at this mass airflow signal while hopefully we can get it to run good, and then quickly see a voltage change before this computer starts to adapt the throttle position to let more air in due to this rich condition. So take you to the mass airflow signal. Here's just some information out of the guided component tests on this Varus. This is for the mass airflow sensor. It says MAF sensor measures the mass of air flowing into the engine. Inside the MAF, a film probe in the airstream is heated to a temperature higher than ambient air temperature. The mass airflow's film probe is cooled by the airflow through the mass airflow. Mass airflow controls the amount of current required to maintain the temperature. Based on this current, the airflow sensor outputs a VDC signal to the ECM. ECM uses this voltage signal to determine engine load. Here's a connector. This is just where I'm gonna hook up. So pin 5 is my mass airflow signal, and pin 3 is my ECM negative or my sensor ground. Another nice thing is check notes. Techs report high failure rate. If fuel pressure is good and no vacuum leaks are present, recommend a road test and monitor fuel trim values with a scan tool. If the fuel trim values are out of normal, adding fuel or lean codes present, suspect the mass airflow sensor. We have adding fuel, or no, we have subtracting fuel, and it's not lean, it's rich. It's actually opposite. So I have seen these fail the other way, where they're dirty and it doesn't see the air coming in, so it leans the mixture under wide open throttle. That's not the case here. So let's go to the mass airflow. Here's just some specs on it. Just a baseline. You can't always go by these numbers, but 0.7 volts to 1.15 volts at idle, 3,000 RPM, 1.56 volts to 1.99 volts. Snap the throttle. Voltage should change with no dropouts or glitches. Let's go to this mass airflow. So I'm hooked up to my mass airflow signal, and this is the sensor ground for the mass airflow. Right now we're at about 1 volt, a little bit above that. It was reading 0.9 before. Let's get a couple snap throttles. A little bit of hesitation there. That's a good looking one. A little bit of hash in there. I want to go to this second one, is when it kind of bogged. See, there's a nice spike and then a gradual rise. Right here was this second rev where there was a spike and then kind of dips down, and it's kind of sluggish going through there. Get a couple more. Right now, mass airflow is reading a little high. Let's go back to our scan data. You can see there's our fuel trim, still negative 30. Engine's starting to rock a bit. O2's fixed at 935 millivolts. Go back to the scope real quick. Try to get this thing to. So my mass airflow is now reading much higher. There we go. This car needs a mass airflow sensor. Stop this and go back. Look at this one. Really long. See, this one wasn't too bad. A little bit of hash in there, but this one, that really long, whoa, that bog. Let's get a couple more. Finally, I'm able to get this thing knocked up. Number one, this mass airflow, it's reading too high. It was 0.9 before. A little bit of hash. This thing starting to bog. Really wish I could get this thing to drop out. There we go. There we go. Nice. That was perfect. You can see that long, drawn out. This car needs a mass airflow sensor. Let's go back to our scan data just to see what we're getting there. Still negative 29.5. O2's fixed pretty rich. My intake air temp is good. My coolant temp is good. My mass airflow reading is a bit skewed because the ECM is also trying to compensate for this rich condition. I think this one's a pretty good shot. Typically what you want to see in a mass airflow is this nice spike right here and then a drop, and then it will gradually rise. This is way too long. That is too low. This is when it's bogging. So get back on there. It's reading a little too high. 1.2. And I don't think the computer is adjusting anything right now. And I really think that this is our problem. You can see our O2 fixed at 800 millivolts. There's our negative fuel trim. Get some more shots of that. See a nice gradual rise. A little bit of a bog in there, that little bit of noise. Those are good looking waveforms, and it's not bogging right now, but when it did, I mean, that long drawn out signal from that mass airflow. This car is getting a mass airflow sensor. All right, so what I believe is going on is that this mass airflow is reading too high for idle. It's reading 1.2 volts. Before it was reading 0.9. And basically this engine computer thinks that there's a lot more fuel coming in than there, or a lot more air coming in than there really is. And what it's doing is adjusting for more air. So it's adding fuel and the O2 sensor is picking this up and saying, whoa, there's way too much fuel in here. So our short-term fuel trim is -30. It's trying to take the fuel away, and basically it's contradicting itself. So the computer's adding fuel for the incorrect air reading, and the O2 is reading rich and telling the computer to take fuel away. So it's kind of like it's fighting itself. Try to get a few more in here. It's not too bad, but given the previous ones we had. Yeah, see, my O2 it's so intermittent. Normally what I've seen on these is a mass airflow reading of around 3 grams per second at idle. This one's reading a little high, which I think is kind of indicating our problem. My O2 keeps going, it's very random. When the O2 starts operating correctly, then the fuel trim adjusts correctly, and I don't have any hesitations. Go back to this. Yeah, 1.1, it's reading a little high. See that lowest right there is 0.965. It's kind of hard to see. But that's what it was reading before. You can see this mass airflow jumping around a bit. There's another one. You can see it gets really hashy. I'm done fooling around with this car. It needs a mass airflow sensor. We'll see. Hopefully I can get an after shot. I feel pretty confident. My fuel pressure was good. I know I didn't show it, but my fuel pressure was good. About 50 to 60 psi. 60 psi being the highest at wide open throttle or no vacuum supply. I don't suspect any leaky injectors. I don't have any bleed down in my fuel pressure. I have no misfires. Basically just this random hesitation, and the only thing that I can see right now is this mass airflow kind of throwing some hash at me when it's bogging. So my O2 responds to mixture changes. What else? I got nothing. Coolant temp's good, intake air temp's good. So I'm gonna put a mass airflow in this car and hopefully get an after shot. If not, I'm feeling pretty confident. Thanks for watching. So here's my mass airflow reading 0.9. Oh, that looks okay. Snap the throttle a few times. It's a nice waveform. It looks pretty good. There's our O2 right now. Looking good, rich lean. My fuel trims positive 19, 21. That might be countering the long-term, which is negative. And before we were fixed negative 30 pretty much with a fixed rich O2 sensor. So right now looks okay. Mass airflow 3.4, 3.5. That's not too bad. They usually read about 3. It is a little on the higher side, which would make sense for what we have going on here. Let's go back here. So still that 0.9. I like that. What I did is I shut this car off and let that resistor cool on the mass airflow, because I wanted to get a known good when this thing isn't acting up, and it's 0.9 of a volt. When we have our issue, it's a lot higher. I think it was 1.3, 1.2, something like that, 1.4 maybe. But right now this thing looks good. Those look a lot healthier. This is still the old mass airflow. I didn't replace it yet. I just wanted to get the known good because this car wasn't acting up all the time. It was very intermittent. Those look pretty good. All right, at least we have a known good shot before I replace this and go from there.